Hi, I'm Slawek with iDrinkCoffee.com. Today I'm going to be doing a guide on how to brew coffee using a Chemex brewer. The Chemex brewer has been around for a really long time. It was invented in 1941. What makes the Chemex special is the shape and also the filter paper, which produces a clean cup and a great tasting cup of coffee. Pour-over methods of making coffee have recently become very popular once again, but we often get asked, the procedure or what I should do to brew a correct cup. I'm going to demonstrate that here. In order to do that, I'm going to use a Bonavita electric kettle. This is a variable heat kettle, so I can set my temperature. It also has a gooseneck pouring spout, which allows me great control for any pour-over method. I've got my Chemex brewer. This is the classic Chemex with a wooden neck. It also comes with a glass handle if you prefer that aesthetic, but essentially it's the same brewer. I'm using a permanent filter. I'd mentioned the paper ahead of time, which is what made Chemex famous. But for this demonstration, I'm going to use the Able Kone permanent filter. And for my ground coffee, I'm going to use the Baratza Vario-W. So the first step is going to be grinding the coffee. As with any brewing method out there, you really want to have freshly roasted coffee, and you should grind your coffee right before brewing. I'm going to brew 750 milliliters of coffee, so I'm going to use 30 grams. Now that ratio is not set in stone. That's just the kind of the starting point. Some people like their coffee stronger, so you can add more coffee to your filter. So I've set my grinder here to 30 grams, and this is the Vario-W, so it's going to grind exactly 30 grams of coffee. The grind that you want to use is a little bit coarser than a filter grind, so a little bit coarser than a medium grind. And the Vario-W stops at 30 grams, which is what I set it to. Now I'm going to take my grinds and transfer them to the filter. There's no secret here, you just want to evenly distribute the grinds. Okay. So now I'm going to begin my brew, and I'm going to do it in 3 different stages. The first stage is I'm just going to pour water gently and a little bit of water just to get the grind saturated. And I'm going to let that sit for about 30 seconds. The next stage is going to be my first brewing pour. And I'll do that, it's a good idea to time it, but I'll do it at roughly 30 seconds. I'm using, like I said, mentioned earlier, the Bonavita kettle. The kettle with the gooseneck allows me great control over the pour. And I'm actually going to begin my brewing pour right now. And what I'm doing here is I just want to evenly saturate the grinds. You don't want too many dark spots. Try to get it all a similar color. Just like that. And now I'm going to let the coffee extract until I have about an inch of coffee stuck to the sides of the filter. Now while that's brewing, I'll mention the importance of temperature. The reason I'm using a variable heat kettle is because it allows me control of the temperature. I have this set to 91 degrees Celsius. 91 degrees is a good temperature for this particular coffee. It's an Ethiopian Sidamo, like I had mentioned. You want to make sure you don't use boiling water. Boiling water is too hot. It's going to over-extract the coffee, and it's not going to taste the way it should. If you don't have a variable heat kettle, the standard rule of thumb is to let the water boil and let it sit for about 4 minutes before you pour it onto your coffee. Now I'm going to do the second brewing pour. And for the second brewing pour, what I'm going to want to do is get the coffee off of the sides as much as possible. So I'm just going to go in a circular motion around the side. And again, I'm going to try to make it as evenly saturated as possible. And that's all the pouring that I'm going to have to do. Once I get about 20 ounces, sorry, I beg your pardon, this is a 6-cup brewer, so about 750 milliliters of coffee. I'm going to pull the filter off, and we'll be all set. You want the whole process to take between, the actual brewing process to take between 5 and 6 minutes for optimum results. So I'm going to remove the filter right about now. I'm at about 5.5 minutes, and all I do to remove the filter is I just take it. I'm using a pitcher here, but because there's still going to be some coffee dripping from it, so you want it to drip into something. I'm going to put that aside, and my coffee is ready to serve. So now I'm just going to pour my coffee. One for my colleague behind the camera, and one for myself. The Chemex yields a really nice cup of coffee, very clean cup, much cleaner than a French press, for example, which is another pour-over method. And it's a quick, inexpensive way of making a fantastic cup of coffee. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me or one of my colleagues, and we're more than happy to help.